Howdy Neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallions, we are doing days 4 and 5 of 31 Days of Horror together because I missed yesterday. I had some family stuff going on, and here we are. So, 31 Days of Horror. What we are doing this month, or this year, I'm sorry, is we're going to have an ongoing theme, and that theme is controversial and divisive horror movies. And so, what better movie to bring out than A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. I also took the time to watch the documentary Scream Queen made by A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 star Mark Patton, who is our very first male Scream Queen / Final Boy. Well, I mean, he's the best Final Boy. Anywho, so let's talk about this movie. Now, before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be here forever doing these things for you guys. So check it out. Anywho, I left a link down at the bottom because there's been a lot of controversy over whether or not Freddy Krueger was ever actually a child molester or a child murderer. And so I started a video, opened up a lively debate. It's gotten over 3,000 views or so. And if you'd like to chime in on the subject, I left the link down in the description below to click on after this video. So let's be honest, because I've not lied to you guys yet. I'm not going to start lying to you guys now. I was not always the biggest fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I thought I was young. I was a kid. I didn't like how it wasn't like the other Freddy movies. I thought it was kind of boring and dull, and I didn't like Jesse's character, and yada, yada, yada. I was an idiot. It happens. It happens. It happens. Then I grew up. I became an adult, and my taste in cinema culture grew and got better and more precise. And I really, really grew to think about what was going on in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and it became one of my favorite movies because, okay, first of all, I know Wes Craven, may he rest in peace, has criticized Nightmare on Elm Street 2 for not following the basic formula of keeping Freddy within the dream. But I would like to retort to that you're the one who left him out in the real world, Wes Craven. I mean, your movie ended with Freddy stuck in the real world and Nancy taking away his power and him disappearing. So technically, that's your fault. Just going to say that, just putting that out there, no disrespect. Now, having said that, I mean, this movie was great because it kept up with continuity. It was like, okay, Freddy's stuck out of the dreams and in the real world. How do we deal with that? And then it found a way to deal with that by making itself a possession movie where Freddy is possessing this boy. Now, I never, when I was younger, thought of it as a gay movie, even though it has been called the gayest horror movie ever made. And that's pretty true. That's legit. That's totally legit. But, and you know what? For those of you hating on She-Hulk for twerking, yeah, Mark Patton, our lead hero, Jesse in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, he twerked that drawer shut while he was cleaning his room. Boo, bitches. Fight me down in the comments. But it's a pretty gay movie, and that's not a bad thing. It's a really good thing. And a lot of people have labeled the movie as homophobic, and I think that people labeled the movie as homophobic because of the homophobic backlash that came out to it. Now, I don't really have any memory of what the times were like in 1985 or 6 when this movie came out. I was either 2 or 3 myself. But going back and watching the documentary, you find out that it wasn't that the movie wasn't well received. It did well. It was just like nowadays with people on Twitter and all sorts of social media, there were people hating and gay bashing and being assholes to Mark Patton and driving him basically to quit his entire career. He left on top with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And if you don't think that A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was successful because the memory of it is kind of bad, it made enough money to get A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 made, which was technically one of the more successful movies of the day and still the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie to this date by most fans and critics standards. Thank you. So the gay thing. Now, if anybody in the movie was in fact homophobic or had any type of homophobic agenda to the plot line, it wasn't, the director, and the writer has admitted that he did write uh, a homophobic movie, which ended up being more homoerotic on accident. And I'm going to call that a happy accident because I mean it's a good gay movie. I liked it. It really hits all the points, and Freddy would be the villain is the homophobic angle of the story because he is doing his best to prey on Jesse's insecurities, his fears, the fact that maybe Jesse is dealing with the fact that he needs to come out of the closet himself and doesn't know how to deal with that because he and Grady do have this semi-homoerotic relationship with each other. And you could even argue that Grady did in fact on screen ask Jesse out on a date. I mean, he was asking him to hang out, but it was very uncomfortable. Like he didn't know how to approach asking another dude to hang out. Like it wasn't like, yo, dude, do you want to like go get some beers or some shit after school? I mean, that's fairly simple. It's how me and a lot of my friends met. Actually, you know what? Take that back. Me and my best friend met like an 80s buddy movie. We were the overweight kid and the underweight kid not climbing the rope in gym class. True story. And we're still friends like 25 years later. So um, uh, Grady didn't really know how to ask Jesse out. So he was kind of half implying that it was going out and just being buzzed, but it could have been the serious gay undertone that he was asking Jesse out, and Jesse was trying to deal with the fact that he's pretending to be straight and interested in this very, very gorgeous redhead neighbor of his, whom I can't remember her name. I've seen the movie a million times. I know her name. The actress's name is Kim, but I don't remember. Wow, David, you just watched this movie. I have no words. But like I said, Freddie would have been the one doing his best to keep preying on, like I said, Jesse's fears and insecurities and the fact that he was gay. And there was even a little bit of a homoerotic exchange between the two of them when Freddie said, "You've got the body, I've got the brains." And Robert Englund even says in an interview that he intended it that way when he played it, even though Freddie's ulterior motive was to possess this kid's body, and he was using it as sexual innuendo. And he had discussed it with Mark Patton, who is an openly gay actor in Hollywood. And the two of them discussed it beforehand and made it work. There was even a part where the blade would have gone into Jesse's mouth, but the director or the editor told him not to do that for funny reasons, not serious bad reasons. But I also made a video, and we're going to talk about my whole other video here. Where you don't need to. I didn't leave a link for this one, but I also think that Jesse was going to get it on with Coach Snyder. Yeah, that's legit because I mean, look at the evidence. When him and Grady are doing push-ups earlier in the movie, Grady makes mention that the coach hangs out at queer leather S&M bars and gets his rocks off on watching pretty boys, do push-ups and fucking get all kinds of corporal punishment and manual labor and physical labor kind of stuff going on. So when we see Coach Snyder stop Jesse in the gay leather bar, we could assume, since it's not seen on screen, what happens between him stopping him from having a beer at the bar and him having him run laps at the gym, they could have been there working up a sweat to do some form of sexual activity. And the only reason I say that is because while Coach Snyder tells Jesse to hit the showers, Coach Snyder himself is still wearing his, buttless chaps and leather vest and going into his locker room and getting jump ropes and paddles and whatnot for what I'm going to say was going to be a very kinky night of S&M play for him and Jesse. So let me know what you think about that down in the comments. And then Freddie, ever the homophobe, shows up and says, no, we're going to kill the coach and I'm going to send you out and you can talk to the girl tomorrow. It's fine. It's totally fine. So Freddie is truly the villain of the story. I also, like I said, following sequel rules, I'll drop the gay thing. And anybody thinks I'm being insensitive or homophobic or anything, you can't see my pride flag back there, but it's there. It's a bi pride flag. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify that, but there it is. I really enjoyed the fact that they kept up with the continuity and left Freddy being kind of a boy witch who was possessing Jesse and using his body like he told Jesse he would to carry out his evil plans, build up enough fear. And Freddy really does feed off of your screams. Your screams and your fear is what gives him his energy. And so by making Jesse scream, and Jesse could scream, I tell you what, he was drawing on that fear. It made him stronger, so that by the end of that movie, even though he was semi defeated, but not really, at the end, he was able to manage to get back into the dream world where he needed to be to start gaining more strength and be more protected than he was in the real world. I think that's really all I have to say about that movie. There are some funny scenes, some unintentionally funny scenes where they're supposed to be horrific. Like watching that bird fly around and try to be scary was just terrible. I mean, Hitchcock did it once, and it was okay. But like, no, a parakeet, a parakeet, a parakeet. Oh, it's a parakeet. Like, no. You can really tell where the stunt doubles are for Freddy in this movie. God bless Wes Craven for casting Robert Englund in the first place, because the stunt doubles are just awful, and you can tell it's them. They're too stiff and, rigid, maybe even a little taller and more muscular than Robert Englund. So they stick out like a sore thumb through the whole thing. Mark does scream like a girl, but I mean, he's the scream queen. And I don't think it's a girl's scream. I think he screams in pure fear and terror. That's what he's feeling. And it's so loud and high pitched because the feeling is so intense inside of him. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be effeminate. It's just what's happening because, he's terrified. I mean, I've never been that terrified, but I mean, I've also never had somebody try to possess my body through my dreams. So how would I know if I wouldn't scream like a girl? I scream like a girl. I mean, I know it, but how would I know? I might scream like a 5-year-old girl, like with pigtails and shit. So yeah, like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, solid sequel. Give it another go. Watch it again. Watch it with an open mind, and be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Also, side thought, I was supposed to be doing my Hellraiser review, but I got the dates wrong. I thought it was on the 4th, but it's on the 7th, so we're going to do that on the 7th. Tonight is the season 2 premiere of Chucky. Did you like season 1? Did you like Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and Cult of Chucky? And Seed of Chucky is going to make my list next week for divisive and controversial horror movies, because it is divisive, but it is also one of the most integral movies in the entire Chucky series because of the end, and I'll tell you why next week when we do Seed of Chucky. But until then, be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Happy Halloween, and, watch horror movies in the dark.